With Klee being one of the rerun characters with Kazuha as the 2.8 rerun banners, I noticed that a lot of people are more focused on Kazuha than Klee. So with this video here, I really want to shed light on Klee here, since she is the very first 5-star that Genshin ever released when the game started. What's up everyone, this is Nole here, and we're going to be talking about Klee. But before we jump into that, if you like the content, then feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. You know, the usual thing that everyone says on their channel. So with that being said, I'm going to be talking about different things about Klee. So we're going to be talking about her talents, team comps, her artifact choices, her weapon choices, and everything else that has to go with her. So with that being said, let's go ahead and start off with her talents. So Klee's normal attacks is pretty good, I will say. I have a lot of fun really using her charge attack because of the artifacts that I'm using, but I do want to address the problem that Klee has, which really makes people not want to summon for her and not want to play for her, which is her normal attacks. It is very clunky and sometimes lead you to damage loss depending on what you're doing in Genshin Impact, aka Abyss. Luckily, there is a way to play her that makes it to where you can get the maximum amount of damage if you really care about that route, which is normal attack, then charge, then jump. If you do this repeatedly, then I would say it gives you the best bang for your buck, and it really just maximizes your damage output, because if you're trying to do the full rotation of her normals, it's very slow. And then two, sometimes her charge attack feels very sluggish to activate. Now let's move on to her elemental skill, which is Jumpty Dumpty. Her elemental skill does decent damage. It's really just a big giant ball that bounces 3 times, and after the 3rd time, it explodes and makes little bombs. You get 2 charges with this off rip, and the damage is really nice. The problem that I have for this though is when you're using animal characters, sometimes the little bombs that fall out of the Jumpy Dumpty does not get swirled in or do not get pulled in. And I think, in all honesty, that should be one of the things that it can do. However though, if you have one of her passive, then basically whenever you use your normal or you use Jumpty Dumpty, you have a chance to get a 50% of not using stamina when you're using your charge, which is fantastic. So you can keep using your charges over and over and over. Now finally onto her elemental burst, which she basically summons this little drone thing that follows you around, and it does fire damage on the enemies. And it just adds on to whatever she already does. And on top of that, if you do have Constellation 4, I believe, then you can basically turn them little drone things into a whole nuke. Now on to the last 2 passives that she has. The second passive basically makes it where whenever she crits with her charge attack, then she generates 2 energy particles for your team, which is the white one, so anyone can benefit. And then finally, whenever you run Klee in any of your team and you're in Mondstadt, then anything like material wise if you need for other characters, it'll show up on your mini map. Before we move on to the constellations, how should you prioritize your talents? You should level up your normal, then burst, then your elemental skill. Now let's talk about her constellation choices. C1, C2, C4, and maybe C6 is her best options of summoning for her, but you should 100% stop at her C4. Her C1 basically summons a little drone like her element burst are if her normal and elemental skill procs on an enemy, and the little drone that is being summoned does 120% of the damage of her burst. Constellation 2 basically makes it where her elemental skill decreases the opponent's defense by 23% for 10 seconds. Her Constellation 4 is really her best one, which just turns her elemental burst into a whole giant nuke. C6 is really if you just want to be a Giga Chad and you just love Klee, really. You love the little terrorists run around on the field. What it does is pretty much whenever you have her element burst going on, you're regenerating 3 energy particles for your entire team, including Klee herself. Plus, you also get 10% of pyro damage for 25 seconds. Now let's talk about Klee artifacts. With Klee being a fire unit and on top of that she is a catalyst, there's only 2 artifact builds that you can use on her. One is going to be the Crimson Witch and the other is going to be the Wanderer's Troop. The Crimson Witch is her best set overall for her kit if you like using a lot of elemental reaction, while her second set Wanderer's Troop does give you elemental mastery, but the best thing from it is increasing your damage with your attack percent with normals and charge attack. Your substats that you should prioritize is going to be crit rate, crit damage, attack percent, and then ER. Your sands has to be an attack percent, your cup has to be a pyro damage obviously, and then finally your circlet can either be crit rate, crit damage depending on your ratio. Now onto her weapon. weapon choices. Because of Klee playstyle, you really want to run a weapon that is going to either help her crit rate and crit damage ratio or give her more attack. So with that being said, I have previously made a video explaining all the catalyst weapons for a main DPS wise, but to go ahead and summarize for all the catalyst weapons that is here that I have, Skyward Atlas I would definitely say is best thing for her if you have it, to make her as a main DPS. The second 5-star choice will have to be the one that talks about running a shield character on your team, because I will say Klee is very squishy, so running a shield character is very beneficial and the passive bumps it up. Next 5-star is going to be the Lost Prayer if you tend to just need crit rate and you're wanting it to slowly ramp up. And then finally the last 5-star is going to be Yae Miku's weapon. This passive is really nice since Klee has 2 procs on her elemental skill, and it will just take a little bit for the final stack to proc once you finally get your elemental skill back. Now onto the 4-star weapons. I would definitely say the Solar Pearls is the best thing really for most Catalyst characters when you're trying to play them as a main DPS and you don't have any of the 5-stars because of the passive alone. As long as you do normal then elemental skill, really best thing for your buck. The next one is going to be the Withstiff, which this is pretty much what everyone's pick is. The 3 different stats, the attack percent, the EM, and also the elemental damage bonus. You can never go wrong with it because you're going to be switching out Klee from time to time in your team. Next is going to be her weapon. I would definitely say it's not the best and you can pick other weapons over this, but I will say if you don't have anything else or you don't want to swap out other characters' weapons, I would definitely put that on her. And then finally, the Eye of Perception. I would definitely say this weapon is really good if you just happen to have a lot of enemies around each other, more than one, because the passive really benefits a lot more. Now let's talk about her team comps. With Klee being a fire unit, you can really put her with almost any type of hydro character in the game and she'll do really good because of Vaporize. So I will always like to use her with Xingqiu, Yae Miku, and you can change her out for an electro character, and then Zhongli, because again she's very squishy. To me, this team provides you with the most bang for your buck and give you enough damage that you need to clear anything in the game really. You can also run like a hyper vaporize comp if you want to do that route. And my second team that I like to use her from time to time is going to be 2 electros and 2 pyro, so then I can have both of the bonuses going and just funnel everybody's energy back. Now we have gotten to the end of the video here, and this is really just me talking with my final thoughts and the character as a whole, really. I want to say, in all honesty, with Klee being the very first 5-star we ever had in Genshin, I think a lot of people do downplay characters when they're very old, or a lot of people feel as though they got power creep wise, but to be frank, Klee isn't power creeped at all. For most people, I think they get tired of how her playstyle is, which is you have to jump cancel. You must jump cancel in order to get the best bang for your buck when you're playing her. And then 2, she is a catalyst user, so most catalyst users don't have a whole lot of damage when it comes down to doing big damage, or if you're caring about abyss runs to a certain degree. And there are just other better options than Klee. That's 100% true. But I will say that overall, eventually you're gonna go back and you're gonna level up units or build units that you maybe had or gotten, and you think to yourself, well, I'm not gonna worry about them because I have Hu Tao now. Eventually you're gonna come back. And when you come back, I will say definitely like Klee is one of the good units to build. I was really surprised, to be honest, when I tried to build her, and I slapped on my Wondrous Truth and tried it out, and I had fun. I mean, it changed up the whole enjoyment for me when I was playing Genshin. Like I felt like I enjoyed it again. And for me personally, for being a Catalyst main user most of the time, at first I was like, I'm not gonna build Klee and stuff, and I made up my mind because I said I had Yanfei and Klee, and I said, you know what, I'm gonna re-give Klee a try. You know, I leveled her out and played her when the game first started, and now that I have her and I have her build and everything and test things out, I think now a lot of people get tired of old characters and they try to compare them to the very new characters that we have, and since they're not like very new, there's no dopamine hit for the new character wise, well, for the old character really. And so whenever you get that feeling, well, okay, I got Hu Tao, I mean, I don't really need to build my Klee, you know, and Klee been in the game for so long, nah, I got all these other characters. I think that's the real big issue with a lot of old characters comparing to the new characters. Plus too, with how Genshin is, every time they make new content, they try to focus it a little bit around the brand new characters that come out, so that's understandable, and I see why old characters get left in the dust. But Klee is playable. She's very, very playable and is very fun, but you'll always run into asking yourself, I could just play another character, or is she gonna perform enough for me to clear whatever content that you're trying to clear? And to be honest with you, she can, but to a certain degree, certain content will make it hard. Like for example, if you're doing an abyss and you're doing the array or any flying enemies or the dog boss as well, Klee probably not will be the best choice of action there, because obviously her attacks would not be able to hit the dog if it flies up in the air. Your Yoimiya or another character that can dish out a lot of high damage really quickly, or range characters, be the best choice of action. So I will say every character in the game does have their own niche or their own spot, and you can always optimize the character to be the best it can be in its role. But I will say that Klee is not unplayable. It's just that she's very old, and because of her clunkiness as well, and you have to dodge cancel instead of the normal attacking with swords, you can just spam out their normal attacks and you don't have to cancel anything. I see why a lot of people don't want to play Klee. But if you just take away the dopamine hit, you relax, and you try her out, then I will say you'll probably enjoy her a lot more. Another thing I want to say is, should you pull for Klee? It's gonna be all on you, 100%. I think every single time, whenever you check out any video, when it comes down to a unit wise, it is gonna come down to your account, what you need, and is it worth helping your account? I would just say that in all honesty, you should try to pull at least 2 units for every element. After all that, really, then you can make the decision whether or not do you want to pull for this character or not. I would just honestly say Klee is not it to pull, but if you do have her from previous banners, or you are a Klee main, or you're saying forget Kazuha, I want the terrorist, then I would definitely say that you will not go wrong with getting this unit and having fun. She's fun. I was just really surprised that I was gonna enjoy using Klee again. I'm not gonna lie, but that's all I want to say, really. I know I was jumping around and having a hard time getting to the main point of it, but just to say, it's all on you. Second of all, Klee is not that bad as a lot of people think she is. Give her clunkiness a try and you will enjoy it if you do want to get her, and if you have the means to get her. But other than that, I think that's going to be wrapping up this video here, and I thank you for watching if you have gotten this far. But other than that, I catch you guys in the next one.